All right, now to control the thickness, you have to create a parameter first before you can do anything that will control the thickness. So if I change this to 0.5, it's now a 1/2 inch thick washer. Change that to 1/8 of an inch. Now the washer is 1/8 of an inch thick. Okay, so I'm working with some really, well, it's 5/32, very common size fraction for a washer. So how did I control the thickness? Do you know how to set that up automatically without me showing you? If you don't remember, I'm going to delete this out and do it again. What I like to do is just double click on the solid itself, and you have, well, I have it still linked. Let's see if I can remove that. I'm going to hit this eraser to delete it and say OK. Alright, so now if I double click the solid, there's no formula linked to it. So from here, I like to go to FX formula. It's the same thing as if I went to this FX, clicked on the pad, there's that thickness, and if you hit length, it makes it a lot shorter when I click on pad. Well, it's going to show the other ones, the other thicknesses, but it's a lot less than doing all and trying to search through and trying to find them. So I switch it to length. Okay, and I know it's the first limit length because when you do your solid, the first limit's what you always key in. So you're probably familiar enough with CATIA to recognize that first limit. But instead of doing it that way, you could come from here and right click and hit FX. Then you know you're going to that one. So it's the first limit length is going to equal whatever I pick here. But I don't have it created. So I got to go create that parameter first, which is the one I just deleted. So I'll create a new parameter, and I'll type in thick. And I'll make that thickness a value because it freaks out if you don't give it some kind of value. All right, so when I change this thick, come on. Oh, did I not say okay or something? What was I doing? Probably wasn't paying attention. New parameter. Looks like I didn't create it. One knucklehead. All caps. Apply. It's good. Say, oh no, I just got done telling you it's going to freak out if it doesn't. You don't give it a value. Okay, so if I change this to 0.5, change this to 1, change this to 1, nothing's happening because it's not linked yet. So when I go to the pad, I'll double click the pad, and then from here I can right click and edit the formula. So instead of me typing in a length, I can just click on this and it's going to know whatever that parameter is, it's going to match. Okay, so again, nothing's here. You got to make sure you look in the field. If nothing's there, it's because you didn't double click. I can double click off the tree, or I can double click off of here. So you hit rename parameters, it gets it a little easier to find those. Okay, select OK. Now the only thing I don't like, come on computer, when you look at your formula, this thing's going to be long. If you had a complicated algebraic formula, this thing's going to shoot way across the page, and it's very confusing to read. You got the lowercase OD going into uppercase OD, lowercase ID going into uppercase ID. I know all my lower cases are my constraints from here. My parameters are all in capitals up here. That way it makes it less confusing for me to memorize which way I'm going here. What I do like is if I'm wondering what thickness equals down here, I can kind of read back. Well, it's in the part body, it's in the pad 1, it's the first limit, and it's a length dimension. So it helps me track it that way, but it can get rather confusing when I'm trying to build formulas if you don't rename them. So one way or another, it's got its advantages and disadvantages. So I've got my parameter linked. Now, if I go to, oh dang it, my 196 class, you see I have the washer here. Okay, if you edit it here, nothing's going to happen. I don't know how to make that link by changing that. So what you got to do, if you want to change your spreadsheet to add the thickness, is you have the design table here. You got to double click the design table. And then you got to use this tab down here called Edit Table. And it pulls up that same spreadsheet. So let's say I highlight this and I make this, let's say I highlight these two and I make this way longer. So I grab that little black box at the bottom and just drag this down. Ooh, it's going to be super long. So I'm going to have a 4-inch washer. If I close this and save, it'll ask me to close this knowing that I updated the tree, and you can see how much longer this got. So this washer could be super huge now. Where's my washer? Oh, great. Okay, so I had the tree active somehow without realizing it. I'm going to click on this tree, zoom back up on it so it's a little bit bigger. See how my part's gray? I got to click on this to reactivate the part. Okay, I can slide this over. So here's this. Oh, I can't really. Can I move this in a little bit? We'll go up to the top. Sorry, I had a sneeze there. This is the smallest one. Okay, go a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Scroll down here. All right, so if you want to edit the design table, you have to hit this edit table here. Now I don't need this many, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe these out. We'll just go like to 1/2 inch long maybe. Let's delete that. And then let's go with thickness. And you have to have lowercase in. And then we'll do a thickness of 3/16. It does, oh, I already set this up to fractions earlier. So what will happen to you if you do Ike if you type in 3/16, it's going to change it to a date. But I've already set this up so it doesn't do the dates. What you'll see, where's the dates at? It'll, won't type in that either. It'll type in a different type of date. It'll come in looking like this. Oh, son of a gun. I'm just going to go to Control-1 to hotkey that date. It'll come in looking like this. Okay, so again, if I type in 3/16, you get that number. It's not really what I was looking for. I'm going to click on that, and actually I'm going to highlight this whole row, and I'm going to change that to numbers. So I got to retype in 3/16. Oh no, sorry. I'm going to type in, I'm going to highlight this whole row and go with fractions. and this is going to be 3/16, and it gives it to me in the fifths, so it's because it's 16 needs two places. So I'm going to hit this arrow here, change that to 2 places, select OK, and I'll drag this down. So this washer will be 3/16. Now let's say I want the same size washer but thicker. You can just copy paste that, and then the next size from 3/16 up would be 4/16. So I type in 4/16, and that will convert it to 1/4 of an inch. So I'll drag that down 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I've got my thickness in there. I'm going to close this, save it. You must save it, otherwise it won't recognize this. Now why, when I hit close, didn't thickness get added to the list? When I hit associate and I hit rename parameters, thick is going to equal thick. Now see, I didn't have them the same name, so it didn't know to link them up. I should have called it thick in my spreadsheet, or THK over here. It's not a big deal. What I wanted to point out is they don't have to be the same name anyways. You could have different names, but what you have to do if they're not the same name is you have to manually associate that. Now I got this error. Take a minute to read the error. It doesn't say it's complementing the columns. It's because why? When I go back to my design table, remember I said earlier fractions don't work? These are all in fractions. But when you go, as I showed you earlier, the spreadsheet, when you go get all your numbers, everything's going to be in fractions. So if you don't know your decimals, it's okay. You just type out all the fractions, and then you got to convert it to decimals. So I'm going to highlight this whole row, and I'm going to go to from fractions to numbers, and close this off and say save. And then we'll go back to the CATIA model, close this off, and now I can try and associate. What did I do wrong? Let's see. Edit, design table. Those are all decimals now. Oh no. Yeah, no, I got a space there. It's very finicky on how that works. That should work. I don't know what's going on here. Save. Associate those. I thought I had that under rename parameters and had these two highlighted, and now we hit associate, and now they're associated. So we'll hit apply, and I can go back to the tab configuration, and there's all the changes I've made. Here's my largest one. Okay, so now I don't have to be so far out. These washers look goofy because I'm not using real numbers. Well, I guess they're real, but it's probably not common sizes here, like off those charts if you were to key in those ones off the chart. So that is how I added a column in case I forgot a parameter. Again, the process is you have to create the parameter, link your constraint to the parameter, and use the edit table. You can't go to your spreadsheet from your folders and modify it from there. You must enter that through here. All right, and that is how you add a column to add more parameters if you've forgotten a parameter.